Everyone knows Pokemon has always been inspired by real places. Unova is New York, Alola is Hawaii. But before Pokemon was a franchise to tour around the world, it was all about to end with a final region. In 1998, Gold and Silver brought to life the heart of Japan. But unlike other games, this region was an exact replica. Osaka is Goldenrod, Kyoto is Ecruteak, Olivine City is Kobe, Violet City is Nara, all lining up geologically perfect. And I think most people know this. But over a year ago, I started to research every town, route, and city, and each connecting piece. And the entire region began to unravel into a web of obscure truths that had been buried in these games 20 years ago. And my view of what these games were really about began to shift. The NPCs in Goldenrod speak in the Osaka dialect of Japanese. There are real whirlpools exactly where they're placed in the game. Every notable location in Johto is a notable monument that exists in real life. The radio tower in Goldenrod is a Sutenkaku. The Bellsprout Tower is an allegory for the oldest standing wooden temple in the world, the Todaiji. It makes sense now why you can hear wood creaking in the tower. They even got these things. Nara and Kyoto have a law where stores can't use bright colors to maintain the beauty of old-style buildings, which is why both Violet City and Ecruteak are the only ones to have muted red Pokemon centers. But how deep did this really go? Sure, it's a shot-for-shot perfect copy of this real region in Japan, but even the Pokemon themselves relate to real animals that live in these areas. And the places those Pokemon appear on the map line up perfectly with real life. Nara and Kyoto have thousands of free-roaming deer. Stantler only spawns on Route 36 and 37, the one chunk of grass that lies between them. It's the only Pokemon that spawns here at all times of the day at a fixed 30%. The Pokemon themselves are far less fantastical than any other region in the history of the franchise. Heracross is the Japanese rhinoceros beetle, Spinarak is the Japanese Joro spider. They all fit into life the way they do in the games. But slowly, I started to realize that there was a much deeper layer here. A narrative that I was starting to uncover. A message that was trying to be told, shrouded by fantasy. Johto is one of the last games to still have unsolved questions. People have always been asking for more. But what I found is that the missing pieces actually lie in reality. And the only way to find these answers was to go where it all began and solve it myself. Because if everything is practically real, then what the hell is unknown? I've been playing Pokemon since I was a little kid. I've walked the ruins of Alph over and over, slid old stone puzzles together, caught Unknown, and that's about it. It's easy for this place to seem like nothing but a dead end. Just an endless mystery. Nothing but old cryptic writings that give more questions than answers. Ruins of the past. Puzzles, secret rooms, and strange Pokemon. It almost doesn't make sense. What if this place was real? What if there really were more questions than answers? What if the puzzle pieces aren't all put together? What if it really was unknown? The place we know as the ruins of Alph was inspired by Asuka, a tiny village 40 minutes south of Nara, or Violet City. It's a place where the mystery of the past is living in tandem with the present. Throughout Asuka, hundreds of ancient tombs are hidden underground. In between gardens and houses lie stone structures that look identical to the ones in the ruins of Alf, that are to this day not understood. The tombs are over 1,500 years old, yet still standing, and no one on Earth knows anything, who is buried here or why. Their very existence is truly unknown. Throughout Asuka, there are stone monoliths that have been standing still for so long, no one knows what they were ever for. All they know is that some of them fit together like a puzzle. Though they will likely never move again, moss grows over and kids climb on top, and the only way for these ancient puzzle pieces to come together is through story and imagination. These pieces are stuck in time, built before Japan's own known history, more than 1,500 years ago. They've been forgotten many times over, stuck still for so long that legends came of them and left. They remind me of sliding the stone puzzle squares into place, unlocking some secret fantasy stone chamber where you fall into a hole in a mysterious room. Pokemon is just another iteration of these legends, a story built from something mysterious that will never be answered otherwise. Most of the tombs, like the game, are empty now, but there have been discoveries here that have influenced these games in far more ways than you might think. There are two that are regarded as national treasures by Japan. This is the Takamatsu-zaka. This tomb was first discovered in 1972, and it was the first tomb with vividly colored paintings to ever be discovered in the history of Japan. When it was found, it was all over the news as the people of Asuka gathered around and climbed in to see origins of the past. On the walls were paintings of multiple figures: Genbu, the black tortoise, and 3 other animals that were shrouded due to its age: a tiger, a dragon, and the resemblance of a bird. Shortly after it was laid eyes on, it was sealed off to the public. These are what inspired the paintings and the puzzles in the ruins of Alf. In 2005, they found the paintings had molded over and started to deteriorate since its discovery. A difficult decision was made by Japan to completely remove the giant stone panels and bring them to a research center for them to painfully reconstruct into their original state. In tandem with this, new dialogue was added in the remakes of Gold and Silver to an NPC in the ruins of Alf, who says we are reconstructing ancient stone panels, and we think we can put them back together to how they were. The Takamatsu-zaka was immediately a staple in Japan historic discoveries. However, it was only 10 years later that another discovery like it would be found. The most notorious tomb in all of Asuka, and possibly Japan, the Kitora tumulus. First discovered in 1950 by a local resident who stumbled upon it during road construction and spread word about its existence. Immediately after, it was declared a national treasure by Japan. But due to the technological restraints at the time, the tomb was left untouched for 30 years, until 1983, when enough advancements in cameras had been made that it was possible to see inside. A group of researchers used an oddly thin, long camera called a fiberscope to learn about the contents that had laid underground for over 1,500 years. Once inside, they found paintings on the walls. The second discovery in the history of Japan to recognize a vividly painted mural. Although similar to the Takamatsu-zaka, this one was far more special because it was in nearly perfect condition. Inside laid 4 mythical creatures, and the oldest precisely drawn constellation map to ever be discovered in Japan. These 4 creatures are known as the 4 symbols of Chinese astrology, and among them lied the last one that was missing from the Takamatsu-zaka, of the vermilion bird, Suzaku. Ho-Oh, the mystical firebird, said to be the ruler of the legendaries, and to promise eternal happiness to whoever laid eyes on it. Only referred to as legend in Gold and Silver, until you encounter it. He was originally intended to be the only mascot of Pokemon Gold and Silver. Many people know about Ho-Oh's connection to the ancient Chinese mythological bird Phin, as it literally translates in Japanese as Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh adorns the top of temples in Kyoto in golden form, clearly inspiring the Pokemon and its shiny form. But it also has a strong connection to the vermilion firebird, Suzaku, portrayed on the walls in the ancient tombs of Asuka. Not only is Ho-Oh painted on the stone in the ruins of Alph, but Ho-Oh is required to be brought here to enter into certain chambers. The mysterious transmission, the only Pokegear channel that plays in the ruins of Alph, was created by using portions of Ho-Oh's cry. Ho-Oh specifically is connected deeply to this place, and Suzaku is a symbol of Asuka, and has more ties with Ho-Oh the Pokemon than we thought. Like Ho-Oh, Suzaku is often a symbol of rebirth and regeneration. But Suzaku is also associated closely with the sun and possesses the ability to control fire. And Suzaku, like Phin, is said to have wings that resemble the rainbow. Never before had Japan discovered an ancient painting of Suzaku like this. The importance of Suzaku to Japan as a whole is key to understanding Ho-Oh's connection to the ruins of Alph. Inside of the Kitora tomb, waiting with Suzaku and the divine beasts, lied a constellation on the ceiling, the oldest scientific star map to ever be discovered. Knowing that Ho-Oh has ties to this depiction of the constellations started to reveal much more about these games than we had ever thought. But it all became clear to us when we entered into a replica of the Kitora tomb and heard the words of someone who knew a lot more about this than we ever could.
The sun. Gold and silver? No way! Wow! What? That's so cool! Dude.
Gold and silver, above and below, the sky and the sea, the sun and the moon. Ho-Oh is the golden sun, and Lugia is the silver moon, inspired directly from the ancient constellation that originally pictured them together 1,500 years ago. The oldest and most culturally important of its kind. This is why the games are called Gold and Silver. This connection is why Ho-Oh and Lugia both carry the flying type, and are always pictured mirroring each other in all of their art, even in some of their moves. And Generation 2 were the very first games to introduce day and night. But if you've played these games, then you're probably aware that we're missing a piece here. The Kimono Girls played a vital part in the story of Johto, and they also reside in the tombs of Asuka. When the first tomb with murals was discovered, the Takamasuzaka, the painting that drew the most attention was the depiction of empresses in ancient Japan, known as the Ladies of Asuka. The Ladies of Asuka were 5 people who played critical roles in this time period of Japan's history and the spread of Buddhism, and they were portrayed in gold and silver through the Kimono Girls. The depictions of the Ladies of Asuka in the past and now all show them representing a different color, which is why each Kimono Girl carries an evolution and are always portrayed wearing distinct different colors. There are 5 Kimono Girls and 5 Ladies of Asuka. Throughout the games of Gold and Silver, there is a theme in the story and a general feeling of playing this game like the past and present are existing together. That things of old and new are happening around you at the same time. It says in the Japanese Pokemon Wiki that the Kimono Girls are descendants of an ancient clan that worshipped Ho-Oh and Lugia. This use of the word clan seems strange, but it's actually very intentional. There is one other time a clan is mentioned throughout the games of Gold and Silver, in the secret rooms of the Ruins of Alph. There are words written in unknown on the floor that mention that they are the clan that erected Pokemon statues outside. 1500 years ago in Asuka, there were two real clans in an intense conflict with each other. The Soga clan, pushing for Buddhism, eventually won. During this time period, the ladies of Asuka had a vital impact on the creation of Japan as a nation. The clans referred to on the Ruins of Alph floor and the clan that the Kimono Girls descended from are the same. If this is true, the time periods would line up perfect with real life. The 5 Kimono Girls are the descendants of the 5 ladies of Asuka. The Ruins of Alph are full of stone chambers, ancient ruins of a past civilization, where all that remains are structures built with giant stone blocks, statues, paintings on rock of Pokemon that are no more than legend now, weathered and cracked, in need of being assembled, and an unknown language written on the walls, messages from a long-forgotten clan. The scientists tell us the ruins are 1500 years old, and that there simply isn't much to know about them, aside from the feeling you get when you're inside. The only other Pokemon that spawns in the Ruins of Alph, aside from Unknown, is Natu and Smeargle. Xatu's Pokedex entry says he stands still, witnessing the past and present at the same time. You as the player truly are witnessing both the past and present simultaneously as well. It makes perfect sense why they placed Natu here, and nowhere else on the entire map. Smeargle is the painter Pokemon. With a paintbrush on its tail, he's the artist, and a metaphor to the ancient paintings that the place that inspired the Ruins of Alph is most prolific for. Every single detail in the Ruins of Alph has a meaning, even down to the items you can obtain there. Nothing was left a dead end. Old amber can be found by smashing rocks outside of the tombs. Simultaneously, in Asuka, while excavating the tombs, they dug through dirt and rocks, uncovering ancient artifacts, one of them being pieces of amber. On this journey to Asuka, I had dreams of stumbling onto an ancient tomb, falling underneath and entering into ancient ruins, old stone traditions of the past. I had no idea how real this game really was.
What? Yo! What the fuck? Dude!
Whoa. Pass me that?
Yeah, it's going. Holy shit, I'm like scared.
But the biggest mystery of the Ruins of Alph is, of course, the unknown. Why would Game Freak add 28 variations of a weak Pokemon that hardly anyone ever has in their party or even bothers catching? You can't use this Pokemon in the Elite Four. You'd probably struggle to even beat a gym. This is because there is an entire different point this Pokemon is trying to prove. It's questioning the way you play this game by design. The entire Ruins of Alph is one of the bigger locations in the game. It was a risky move to fill up their game with so many questions. If you encountered this Pokemon as a kid, You probably remember being confused. Even now, people tend to not really get this Pokemon. And if you view this Pokemon through the lens of a made-up world, a fantasy, it doesn't make sense. But if you view it through the lens of a grounded world, no different to ours, the meaning and overwhelming importance of this Pokemon becomes clear. There has always been a search for what inspired the design of Unknown. Many people think it's hieroglyphs, but with everything we know about Johto, it all comes from Japan's own history. The biggest design inspiration for this Pokemon could likely be from what are known as ancient keyhole-shaped graves, only visible from the sky, built 2,000 years ago in the 3rd century. Hundreds of megalithic tombs resembling keyholes are forever preserved in Japan. They are some of the largest tombs to ever be discovered, and their design is still not fully understood. And it's hard to deny they visually resemble Unknown, but after weeks of searching for Unknown's real meaning, we have come to an entirely different conclusion of what the point of this Pokemon really was. 5 minutes from the train station, through a neighborhood, lies a hill that overlooks Asuka. Underneath this hill is the secret that inspired this strange Pokemon. A tomb built in the 7th century. You can tell from the outside that this is one of the leading designs of the ruins of Alph. We know this from Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and if you walk inside with your back to the wall and a camera pointed straight forward, you can see the exact frame for the entrance screen to the ruins of Alph. This is the Iwayama Tumulus. Out of all the tombs, the Iwayama bears the most resemblance to the games. Built with large rectangle stone blocks, you can feel the energy around you as you enter. Something is here. Something here lives on from the past. Marked on these stones is what can only be described as unknown markings. Each block is touched with a character of some sort. When you first see it, it seems random, but it's almost moving. Some people believe it's naturally occurring, but other people believe the markings mean something. Wyatt and I spent hours here in the dark, looking at every single block, attempting to decipher an unsolvable code, as people had probably done here for hundreds of years. When you look closer, you can see characters that stand out and strike a strong shape, and likely were the idea for Unknown themselves. Each one different, each one with or without meaning, all bearing energy that gives you that feeling as a human that there really are things in life that are a mystery. The most fascinating part of this place is that it truly is unknown. No one on Earth knows what these mean, or why this place was built. This language, these markings, this place, this art, whatever it is lost so far in the past, so far into obscurity, that its purpose, story, and creator are completely and utterly unknown. A person I met wandering through Asuka, training to become a tour guide, took me here and described these markings as energy markings. And that stood out to me, because what's left with us is the energy. Whatever someone made over 1,000 years ago still radiates a feeling when you are inside. And when you step out and the sun hits your face, it becomes clear why the Pokemon Unknown had to exist. The story of this place needs to be told. Art takes from life as it has for so long. That feeling of exploration and wonder is alive around you just as it was when you were a child playing these games. Chasing that feeling, chasing the mystery. There's a reason why this game resonated with so many people? It's because it's real. When you're a kid and you play this game, it's just a fantasy where you catch monsters. But eventually we all grow up. This game has been around for 20 years. There are real human intentions that brought this into existence. Gold and silver is profound. The entire story of this game is the reimagining of folk tales and history. Pokemon is presented as a fantasy, but it has always been ancient history. All things that are put into this world come from somewhere. This game was a work of art, and we never noticed. As we marched through the woods, hunting for a tomb in the middle of nowhere, covered in bug bites and thorns, I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't felt since I was a kid. And I had a realization that maybe the people who made this game wanted this. They wanted somebody to find this. They wanted someone to come to these places and feel what they felt here. Why else would someone work so hard to eternalize a place and its feeling? They wanted people to dig up the history and the meaning, and they wanted someone to find all of it was just as they were told as a child, and all of it was as interesting and magical as the fantasy game they love. So the next time you walk through the ruins of Alf, you can breathe a sigh of relief that this mystery will never be solved, because that is the point. Life itself is a mystery, and you don't have to stare it dead in the face to know that it always has been. It's been right in front of us. It's been there the whole time. Unknown is simply the unknown.
Yeah. What do you think, Jeremy? That does.
Whoa. Wait, is that yours? Original?
Yeah.
Whoa.